I'm Rick Henson with this Western Iowa News Update for Wednesday, June the 1st. Following a number of days of increasing responses to the current Missouri River flooding, Lynn Groby, chairman of the Pottawatomie County Board of Supervisors Wednesday, signed a local disaster declaration for Pot County, including the cities of Carter Lake and Council Bluffs. The declaration allows for those two cities, as well as Pottawatomie County, to request additional assistance if needed from outside sources and entities as the flood crisis continues. Flooding continues on the low-level areas near the river and city, and county crews are monitoring closed areas and the levee system. Officials anticipate an increasing rise in the level of the Missouri River and are making efforts to anticipate any needs that may be required. Pottawatomie County Emergency Management continues to facilitate calls between the State of Iowa Department of Homeland Security and the Army Corps of Engineers and many citizens and business partners that may be affected by the flooding event. Planning sessions continued over the Memorial Day weekend, and operations meetings with key responders will continue on a daily basis until the threat is alleviated. The month of May in Iowa was marked by severe storms and drastic swings in the temperature. State climatologist Harry Hilliker says 13 tornadoes touched down last month across Iowa.
Which is actually fairly average for us this time of the year, and probably the most notable one of those is the one that struck the Lenox area back on May the 11th. We had about 8 tornadoes on that date, mainly in the western part of the state.
5 more tornadoes ripped through rural areas of northeast and east central Iowa on May 22nd. Iowa's already recorded 37 tornadoes in 2011.
That would already exceed the total for either last year or the year before. Normal annual total is about 48, so we're not quite to that point. But in 2008, the last really busy year, we had 120 tornadoes that year.
The tornadoes occurred primarily in Parkersburg and New Hartford and at a Boy Scout camp in western Iowa's Harrison County in 2008. Hilliker says Iowans should remain on alert for severe weather in the weeks to come.
June, on average, is our busiest month of the year in Iowa for tornadoes, so unfortunately it looks a little bit on the quiet side, at least the first few days into June, but so we have to keep an eye on the sky as we go further into the month, because this typically is our peak month of the year for tornadoes in the state.
The statewide average temperature in May turned out to be normal, according to Hilliker, but the month included extreme heat and cold. The hot spot was Jefferson, which hit 100 degrees on May the 10th. Just 1 week earlier, on May the 3rd, the coldest temperature of 20 degrees was recorded in both Spencer and Sibley. Hilliker says the statewide average rainfall was 5.2 inches. Normal rainfall for May is 4.25 inches. Here in Atlantic, we received 4.17 inches of rain in May, which is 0.3 of an inch above normal. Our average high was 72 degrees, which is 10 degrees cooler than normal. The hottest day was on May the 10th when we hit 97 degrees. The average low was 48, which is about average for the month. More rain across Iowa is limiting planting and field work as farmers in western Iowa keep an eye on the rising Missouri River. The weekly crop report released Tuesday shows last week's storms almost stopped progress in south-central Iowa, while it was spotty elsewhere. Gusty winds prevented spraying in weedy fields. The report shows 99% of the corn crop was in the ground, about the same as last year. 80% of the corn is rated good to excellent. Soybean planting is 87% complete, which is slightly behind last year's 89% and the average of 88%. Police in Red Oak say one person was arrested Tuesday after officers investigated a reported odor complaint. 24-year-old Tice Samuel Watts of Elliott was arrested after authorities went to 1660 East Summit Street in Red Oak. A search of the premises resulted in the recovery of a small amount of what authorities say was suspected to be marijuana as well as drug paraphernalia. Watts was charged with possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia. He was being held in the Montgomery County Jail on $1,000 bond. Police in Red Oak say a woman arrested in late May faces additional charges stemming from an ongoing investigation. 18-year-old Andrea Marie Allerton was originally charged with possession of a controlled substance, marijuana, in connection with an arrest in the 900 block of East Reed Street in the late evening hours of May 23rd. Allerton was subsequently charged with possession of a controlled substance with the intent to deliver and a felony violation of the state's drug tax stamp law. She was being held in Montgomery County Jail on $5,000 bond. A Nebraska girl suffered minor injuries in Griswold Sunday afternoon after she was struck by a car. The Cass County Sheriff's Office said Tuesday that Ellie Howard of La Vista, Nebraska, was transported to the Cass County Hospital after she was hit as she was trying to cross the street at around 4 p.m. Sunday. The accident happened at the intersection of Whitney and Park Streets in Griswold. 21-year-old Eva Alexandria Kwiatkowski of Griswold was traveling westbound on Whitney Street when her car made contact with the girl, who is believed to be under the age of 10. No citations were issued. 2 people were injured during a motorcycle accident Sunday night near Crescent. The Potawatomi County Sheriff's Office said Tuesday 30-year-old Daniel Slusky of Omaha was driving a 1999 Harley-Davidson motorcycle on Highway 183, or Old Lincoln Highway, when he crossed the center line of the road and lost control of the cycle before it crashed. The accident happened at around 8:05 p.m. Sunday. Pot County Sheriff's Department spokesman Sergeant Dwayne Ritchie told KJAN Slusky was unconscious when rescue crews arrived. He was flown by Life Flight helicopter to the University of Nebraska Medical Center in Omaha, where a report on his condition is currently not available. An adult female passenger on the cycle, Dakota Job of Omaha, was injured and transported by Crescent Fire and Rescue to the UNMC. Sergeant Ritchie says alcohol was being investigated as a possible cause of the crash. Police in Glenwood are asking for the public's help in locating a stolen, custom Harley-Davidson motorcycle. The cycle was reported stolen from a garage at 116 Hillcrest Avenue in Glenwood Sunday morning. It was likely taken sometime Saturday night or early Sunday. Officials say the keys to the cycle were previously stolen. The bike is described as being an orange 2010 Harley with green flames. It has Iowa license plate number 4038MX. If you see the cycle, call Glenwood Police at 712-527-9920 or 527-4844. 3 people were arrested on separate charges over the past week here in Cass County. The Sheriff's Department said Tuesday 46-year-old Tracy Joe Lane of Griswold was arrested May the 24th on charges of OWI, third offense, child endangerment, and driving while revoked. Lane was brought to the Cass County Jail and released May the 28th on $10,000 bond. Last Sunday, sheriff's deputies arrested 34-year-old Sean Michael Egging of Omaha on a charge of OWI first offense. Egging was later released on $1,000 bond. And on Friday, 36-year-old Thomas Jordan Fredrickson of Atlantic turned himself into the Cass County Jail on a sheriff's warrant for OWI second offense. Fredrickson was released later that day on his own recognizance. An Exira man was arrested early Friday morning on an OWI charge following a traffic stop in Exira. The Audubon County Sheriff's Department said 23-year-old Brock Daniel Knapp faces a charge of operating while intoxicated first offense and driving under suspension. He was taken into custody at around 2:30 a.m. Friday and brought to the Audubon County Jail. Knapp was later released after appearing before the magistrate. Police in Atlantic reported Tuesday 3 people were arrested over the weekend and 1 minor accident was investigated. Taken into custody on Friday on a charge of driving while suspended was 31-year-old Ryan Richards of Avoca. On Saturday, officers with the Atlantic PD arrested 25-year-old Ryan Mullen of Atlantic for driving while revoked for failure of an OWI test. And on Sunday, 23-year-old Derek Hilsebeck of Des Moines was arrested for OWI and possession of drug paraphernalia. All 3 men were brought to the Cass County Jail, where they were booked and held pending an appearance before the magistrate. And no injuries were reported following an accident early Saturday morning. Officials say Jacob Goff of Atlantic was traveling east on Highway 83 and approaching Sunnyside Lane when his vehicle was hit by a deer that jumped out of the south ditch. The accident, which happened just before 1 a.m., caused about $1,200 damage. The Cass County Board of Supervisors Tuesday approved a budget amendment for fiscal year 2011. The changes, which were described by County Auditor Dale Sunderman, did not result in the amount of the budget being changed, just a shifting of funds. The amendment changes the secondary roads department allocations, reducing the construction budget and increasing slightly the operating budget. There was also a minor adjustment and appropriation of monies into the local health budget because of a flow-through of received grant monies. There was also an allocation of funding so the new courthouse generator could be paid off through the capital projects line item rather than through a loan from the local option sales tax. The budget amendment was adopted after a public hearing during which there were no objections. A survey of 9 Midwestern and Plain states suggests that exports are helping to fuel the regional economic growth. A report released today says the Business Conditions Index for the Mid-America region rose in May to 60.2 from 57.7 in April. Creighton University economist Ernie Goss oversees the survey. He says that although higher commodity prices have hampered the regional economy, exports are making a significant contribution to growth. I'm Rick Hansen, KJAN News.